They thought I was failing at life because I didn't have a flashy job or a big house. Little did they know, every dollar they spent trying to look successful, I was quietly building something that would outlive all of us. And the night they demanded to see proof of my plan was the night their laughter finally died. For years, my family had one favorite joke. Me. Not in a cruel way. Not openly. But in that soft, smiling way that cuts deeper. At every holiday dinner, my brother Daniel would raise his glass and say, "To risk takers, and to my little brother, who keeps the bank safe." Everyone would laugh. I would smile. I drove a used sedan. I rented a small apartment. I wore the same 2 suits on rotation. Meanwhile, my cousin showed up in brand new SUVs. My sister posted photos of her remodeled kitchen every 6 months. Daniel talked about his startup like it was the next big empire. And me? I worked at a steady accounting firm. No big title. No headlines. Just consistency. But here's what they didn't see. Every bonus went into investments. Every raise went into index funds. Every extra dollar went into assets that quietly grew while I slept. I didn't argue with them. I didn't defend myself. Because I wasn't building an image. I was building leverage. And leverage doesn't need applause. It just needs time. What they didn't know. Time was about to prove me right. It happened on a Sunday afternoon. Family dinner. Important. Mom texted. When I walked into my parents' house, something felt staged. Too organized. Too polite. Daniel was already there, arms crossed, confident as always. My sister avoided eye contact. Dad sat at the head of the table like this was a board meeting. That's when I knew. This wasn't dinner. It was an intervention. Dad cleared his throat. "We're concerned about you." Concern. That word always sounds kind. But it carries judgment inside it. "You're almost 40, Daniel added. "Still renting. No property. No visible growth." Visible. There it was again. My sister leaned forward. "What's your long-term plan?" They thought I didn't have one. They thought I was afraid to take risks. They thought I lacked ambition. Mom reached for my hand. "We just don't want you left behind." Behind who? People drowning in car payments? People upgrading lifestyles faster than their income? I stayed calm. "I appreciate the concern," I said softly. Daniel leaned forward. "Then show us. What are you actually doing with your money?" The room went still. They expected hesitation, excuses, embarrassment. Instead, I asked one question. "Are you sure you want to see?" They laughed. That same laugh. And that's when I opened my laptop. Before I tell you what they saw, you need to understand what it took. For 12 years, I lived below my means. When my friends upgraded apartments, I stayed. When coworkers bought luxury watches, I waited. When my family traveled first class, I declined politely. They called me cheap. They called me overly cautious. Daniel once said, "You can't save your way to wealth." I didn't argue. Because I wasn't saving. I was investing. Every month, automatically. Index funds. Dividend stocks. Real estate investment groups. Broad market ETFs. Nothing flashy. Nothing exciting. But steady. Compound growth is boring at first. Then it becomes powerful. Then it becomes unstoppable. While they were measuring success by what people could see, I was measuring it by what was quietly multiplying. There were nights I questioned myself. Was I missing out? Was I too conservative? But every time I looked at the charts, I saw progress. Small, consistent, growing. And growth, even slow growth, builds confidence. So when Daniel folded his arms and said, "Let's see this big strategy," I didn't feel nervous. I felt ready. I turned the screen toward them. First account. 6 figures. Silence. Second account. Another 6 figures. My sister blinked. Daniel leaned forward. "That's what?" I scrolled. Retirement portfolio. Real estate fund statements. Dividend income projections. The air in that room changed. Dad stood up and walked closer. "How long have you been doing this?" he asked quietly. 12 years. I opened the performance chart. A steady climb. No dramatic spikes. No reckless swings. Just growth. "And this," I said, opening another tab, "is projected value in 20 years if I stop contributing today." The number on the screen didn't just represent wealth. It represented freedom. It represented generational security. Mom covered her mouth. Daniel whispered, "That's more than our house." I didn't respond, because this wasn't about competition. It was about clarity. For years, they measured me by what I didn't show. Now they were staring at what I had quietly built. "Why didn't you tell us?" my sister asked. I looked around the table. "Would you have believed me?" No one answered, because they knew the truth. They wouldn't have. Something subtle changed that day. Not overnight respect, but doubt. Doubt in their assumptions. 2 weeks later, Daniel called me. "Hey, can you explain index funds again?" A month later, my sister asked if I could look over her retirement plan. Dad asked if I'd review his investment allocations. The same people who once questioned my ambition now questioned my strategy. But here's the part that surprised me. It didn't feel like revenge. It felt like responsibility. Because once people see results, they want the blueprint. And I had one. Still, there was one moment that sealed everything. Thanksgiving. 1 year later. Extended family gathered again. My uncle, who used to joke about my safe little job, asked loudly, "So what's new with you?" Before I could answer, Daniel said, "He manages more assets than anyone at this table." Silence. Real silence. Not awkward. Just stunned. And for the first time, no one laughed. But success doesn't just bring respect. It also brings jealousy. 3 months later, I found out Daniel had started telling relatives that I was lucky. That I got in at the right time. That I probably had help. Luck. That word always appears when discipline becomes undeniable. At a family barbecue, I overheard him say, "Yeah, but markets could crash anytime. He's taking big risks." I realized something. He didn't want to understand. He wanted to protect his ego. Because if I succeeded quietly, it exposed how recklessly he had managed his own money. That night, I made a decision. I wouldn't argue. I wouldn't defend. I would demonstrate. And then it happened. The market dipped hard. News headlines screamed. Social media panicked. Daniel called me immediately. "Did you lose everything?" His voice carried something strange. Hope. I checked my portfolio. It was down. Of course it was. Markets move. But my strategy wasn't built for days. It was built for decades. I didn't sell. I didn't panic. Instead, I did what I had always done. I bought more. Quietly. Disciplined. Consistent. Months passed. The market recovered. Stronger than before. My accounts didn't just bounce back. They surged. And this time, even Daniel couldn't call it luck. It happened at my parents' 40th anniversary celebration. Relatives filled the hall. Stories were shared. Then my father did something unexpected. He tapped his glass. I want to say something about my youngest son. The room went quiet. For years, I thought success meant showing it, he said. Big house, big car, big noise. He looked at me, but he showed me something different. He built quietly, patiently, and because of that, our family is secure. He paused. He created something that will outlive us. The applause that followed felt different. Not loud, not forced, real. Daniel avoided my eyes. But for the first time, he didn't joke. Today, I still live simply, but my investments generate income whether I work or not. I reduce my hours. I mentor young professionals about long-term investing. I set up college funds for my nieces and nephews. Not because I needed to prove anything, but because wealth without purpose is empty. The real victory wasn't the numbers. It was the shift. From mockery to trust. From doubt to respect. Here's what I learned. People judge what they can see. Cars, houses, titles. But true wealth grows in silence. It grows in patience. It grows in discipline when no one is watching. If you're the quiet one in your family, if they call you small, if they mistake simplicity for failure, let them. You don't need to win arguments. You need to win decades. Because one day, when the numbers speak, you won't have to. And when that silence fills the room, it won't feel like revenge. It will feel like peace. And peace is the richest thing you can own.